It's been days of sweat, tears, and blood as the protest, which began on August 1st, 2024, tagged the End Bad Governance protest, is almost across most states in the Nigerian Federation, with loss of lives and properties in places such as Abuja, Kano, Niger, that's Niger State, Borno, Kaduna, Jigawa, amongst others. Now, the curfew is declared in states like Kaduna, Kano, Jos, and Bauchi, with issues still lingering. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu addressed the nation on Sunday, that's August 4th, but many feel it didn't touch base with most of the issues. Thousands of Nigerians are protesting against the government due to the rising cost of living and fuel prices. They also demand the reversal of fuel price hike. Now, a part of which they're also asking the restoration of affordable electricity tariff and a reduction in import duties. Africa's most populous country is struggling with soaring inflation and a sharply devalued currency after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu introduced reforms a year ago aimed at reviving the economy. Now, joining me on the program at this time is Kayode Opeifa, is the former Commissioner for Transportation, Lagos, and of course a member of the Presidential Task Force on CNG Initiative. He's also a political affairs analyst. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Opeifa. All right, I think you're muted. If you can unmute your device. Thank you once again for joining me.
Yeah, quick correction. I'm not a member of the PCNGI.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm just.
All right. Thank you for that correction anyway. But I mean, let's start off with the past few days, what we've seen in the country as regards the protest, the yearnings of Nigerians talking about hunger. They want a reversal, or review of the policies, many of the policies of the current administration, because it's biting hard, on the living conditions of many. I'd like your immediate reaction.
Yeah, let me first say that I agree that Nigerians or any citizens of any country have a right to show a disapproval of policy. They have a right to protest, and the protest must be within the confines of peace of other citizens. Now, in the last few days, precisely in the last 6 days, and let me say in the last 20 days as well, we've been having this issue about the End Bad Governance protest. And precisely on August 1, the actual protest commenced. And while Nigerians were grappling with who are the organizers, eventually known faces showed up. And the government, the police, and the security agencies also came out to say citizens have a right to protest, and they will be available to give them protection. They also want that the protesters should ensure it is peaceful, even though they have information that there is likely or the possibility of disruption. The DSS also came up that they also have some credible information as to some possible subversive activities. So the protest started, day 1, day 2, in some states, I think about 10 to 15 states, a lot of states, residents stayed off, while it was regarded to be peaceful in states like Lagos or your states. It became violent in some other states like Kano, Kaduna, Jigawa, Borno, Yobe, and the rest. The president addressed the nation on August 4th, and from that moment, it seems the people recall. However, in some states, it became so violent that it's almost turned to insurrection and was moving towards a state of anarchy. And we must commend the security forces for bringing everything under control. For those who protested peacefully too, they must be commended. But those behind the disruptive ones, the police will actually address that. So that's what has happened. In my own view, a lot of Nigerians tend not to get the real issues of the demand. When you do a protest, which is a legitimate right guaranteed by so many international conventions on Nigeria Constitution. The issues needs to be clear. In this particular case, apart from the title and bad governance, a lot of issues are not really clear. I took time to research into what are the issues.
What issues exactly are not clear?
Yeah, you mentioned like 3 or 4. When you go to the Take It Back movement publication, you see about 14 or 15. When you combine that with the one from the Joint Action Front, it gives to like about 19. When you look at what the people in the different states or different parts of the country are talking about, it's not practically the same issues. But one thing is certain, that the issue of hunger is the major denominator. Nigerians are hungry, we are hungry, and then we need an end to poverty. We need a quick fix. We need to, the government need to remove, the government need to return the subsidy removal. The government need to bring down the cost of electricity by reversal for those on band A, then end to corruption. Then, and the last one says end to government, end of government. I don't know if you see that at all.
Well, I mean, you just highlighted some pivotal ones, which I think are pretty clear, particularly when it comes to the cost of living, the cost of electricity. We know that currently the inflation rate is about 34% plus, right? From less than 20, about 18%, just over a year ago. I mean, people have a right.
Yeah, about 26%, about a year.
But well, it's still a major jump, whether 26 or 18, it's still a major jump. And people, I mean, won't you also want to say that people have a right to come out to say, look, what we used to buy for 10 naira before is now 15 naira. What is going on?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think those are not in dispute, that inflation rate continues to grow high, that there is increase in cost of living, and it is expected, and it is not
expected. How is it expected, sir?
I will explain. When the current government came in, the president on May 29 announced that subsidy is gone. Not just that he announced, he informed the Nigerians that we are living on borrowed ropes. We have been borrowing money to subsidize, and there is no more room to borrow. And as at that time, the money we borrow, we are using our revenue, 97% of our, so it's practically impossible. And immediately that was announced, we noticed that there was increase in the pump price. With increase in pump price, the prices of goods and services also increased. So that's why I said it is expected. When you increase the cost of fuel, certain things will have to go with it, because a lot of Nigerians, a lot of our livelihood depends on petrol and diesel as a form of energy. So that's expected that it will increase. Now, in the same speech, or following that speech on June 12th, the first Democracy Day under the current administration, the president mentioned that he feels the hardship coming from somebody, but if there are any other options, or if there is any other option, he would take that option. Unfortunately, there is no option. And you know what? Prior to the election, even before the end of the last administration, Nigerians generally agreed that that subsidy had to go. I personally, through my organization, had a roundtable discussion on May 23rd, 2023, with all stakeholders in the petroleum downstream and the civil society, labor organizations, DAPMAN, MOMAN, IPMAN, NNPC, NMD, all of them were present. And there was a general consensus, even from the labor, that the thing has to go, because it is reading with corruption and it's not serving the purpose it was meant to serve.
But couldn't it have been a situation of maybe mismanagement? Probably if it was managed properly, and then maybe the leakages within, that process or the system was blocked, then maybe corruption would have been nipped out. Because, I mean, even across the world, subsidy is paid on certain basic items.
Yeah, absolutely. The president alluded to that in his subsequent speeches, June 12th and July 31st, that the initial intention of the subsidy regime was good, and it has served its purpose, and it's no longer serving that purpose. Not this president. The previous president said so. The major political presidential candidate and party alluded to the same thing, including the Labour Party. I'm telling you this, I had meetings with Labour leaders. They all believe the thing should go. And that when it is gone, the president said, the government said the money will be used to fund infrastructure, education, health, social services, housing, and so many other things. And that when the subsidy is gone, Nigeria will be able to balance its forex issues.
Okay, but wouldn't it also have been probably appropriate that we had at least some of our refineries fully functional before the total removal? What's going on with our refineries?
Unfortunately, that was also a consensus that some of these things should be. Unfortunately, the timelines we had for the refineries and the modular refineries, about 4 were already on. The Dangote refinery was not on. The date shifted from 2000 to 2001 to 2002, eventually to 2003.
Dangote is a privately owned refineries. We are talking about the state refineries there, about 4 of them.
I'm referring to. Ordinarily, those kind of infrastructure ought to be owned by private sector. I'm just, if you go through the PIA envisage that these things should be with the private sector, while the government owned would be a form of energy security. But seriously speaking, you would have expected all those things to be in place. However, you can see even as of today, they are still not in place. So, and there is even no resources for the government to take care of this thing. And what did the government told Nigerians? The situation is tough. I feel your pain. We are aware, but we'll put in social net. So the money that came, state started collecting like additional 50%. Local government system started collecting additional 50%. Then there was a lot of energy, food security emergency was declared. The reserves were empty. There were food distribution. So many things were going on just to push in it, pending the time the final cushions will come into place. The reason where we are going through all this is just to know that it is true there is hardship, and this hardship is coming from some of these situations. But more importantly is the fact that we have myriad of problems that we have to surgically deal with. And the president said, if there were options, I wouldn't go this route. I feel your pain. Go and study that speech of July 31st. It was a speech dedicated to economic situation. It was a speech that addresses what is going on. It was a speech that says certain things will be done. And if you look at what has happened up to August 4th, a lot of these things have been done.
I mean, I understand. Okay, I understand that we, of course, need to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be talking on some of these policies and also the speech that the president gave. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining in, this is Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have my guest with me. Mr. Kayode Opeifa is the former Commissioner for Transportation, Lagos State. And of course, he joins me live virtually, on the program this evening. Thank you for staying on, sir. All right, let's talk on I'm still going to dwell with you as regards this issue of the subsidy removal. Many have said that, look, even though the administration claimed it's a hotbed of corruption, it was borrowing to finance it and all of that, the removal happened to appear like putting the cart before the horse. That several things could have been put into motion. First, so as to avert what Nigerians are presently feeling. Because right now, it has affected feeding, transportation, accommodation, virtually every way of life. Do you think, or are you of the opinion that this could have been properly implemented or better implemented, if at all?
You see, for benefit of hindsight, you need to fill the position of labor, Pengasan, TUC, more importantly, and the NLC. They all agreed it has to go. Now, when should it go? I told you I was part of a roundtable program on the 23rd of May. They all said yesterday that it should have gone before now. Now, Why is it that it has not gone? The former government of President Muhammadu Buhari actually planned to exit it by June 1.
But there are also reports that some sort of subsidy is still being paid.
You see, what does that tell you? That tells you, if that tells you government is really compassionate. So you won't be able to survive.
Really? Compassionate or hypocritical?
No. I'm saying that if it is true.
Because I remember, I mean, on this program, we interviewed the spokesperson of IPMAN, one of the oil associations, and he used the word quasi-subsidy.
What does it mean of quasi?
Well,
quasi is like force.
Maybe not to use the word direct subsidy, but you used the word quasi-subsidy.
Okay, let me confirm what you are saying.
Yes, and did confirm that some sort of subsidy is still paid.
IPMAN is not in position. I know that sector very well. IPMAN is not in position to tell us.
So are you saying that the subsidy is totally removed? Nothing like that is still being paid? The government says
it's not paying any subsidy. NNPC says they are managing the situation to get us at that rate. So I stand by the position of government, NNPC, and if any other person should talk, it should be the central bank. So I think we need to always get facts rather than what is flying. And those are some of the things that led to these current protests. Because if we don't take time to understand the dynamics, the economics, and we don't take time to follow what the government is saying to the governed, if there is a miscommunication, you have this kind of situation.
Okay, you're talking about communication from the government. We've also had scenarios where sometimes things are said and then retracted, even by the same government. But let's move away from that.
Government does. Okay, thank you.
Let's move away from that. Let's talk about one thing the government, the current administration has always said: appeal to Nigerians to be patient for its policies to materialize, for its policies to yield fruit. The question on the lips of many is, you are telling us to be patient. Number one, does your lifestyle, does the cost of governance reflect what you're telling Nigerians? And also, number two, there are no timestamps. When should our patience elapse? I would like you to react to that.
Okay, thank you very much. On the issue of lifestyle, it depends on individual perception. And
for instance, the amount of aids, some purchases that Nigerians have questioned, and they're saying, look, you're buying a presidential jet for a certain amount. You are rehabilitating the vice presidential quarters. It runs into billions of naira. And we are seeing aids that people are asking, does an executive really need this amount of aids? Several scenarios. And Nigerians are saying, you're telling us to continue to be patient.
I think those are genuine questions by Nigerians. If I have been a commissioner in Lagos and in FCT, and I know very well that the amount that is paid for you to have aids, you have to pick your aids from the civil service. You have to pick from civil service. And if you pick any aids outside the public service, you pay for that aid. I know that. When I worked at the FCT, when I worked in Lagos, we are allowed only two, and they get minimum wage. So if you want to get more than that, you take out of your salary and whatever you have. So if people have excessive number of aids, I think that is not appropriate if the payment is coming from government first. But also,
how about salaries and allowances?
Yeah, salaries. It might interest many Nigerians to know the salary of people in government. But if it comes to allowances, I think that one is also a public document. You get it from RAMFAC. I can tell you how much I had when I worked in the FCT. My salary was not up to 400,000. Total take home,
including allowances,
everything. And when I worked in Lagos, it started from 600. And by the time I left in 2015, it was just about 800,000 naira. So I think there are a lot of insinuations and things that goes on in the public as to this. However, the more important thing what Nigerians are saying is that everybody agrees things are tough. There is action. There is hunger. Agreed. Are we angry? Yes, some Nigerians are angry. Am I angry? To some extent, I'm also angry, but I manage my anger. Is the president aware? He said it in his speech on May 29, June 12, 2003, 2023, July 31st, 2023, October 1, 2023, January 1, 2024. Every speech of this president had always alluded to the fact that I feel your pain. And he said he is not prepared to build the foundation of the country in the swamp or on the mud. It will rather a foundation that is sustainable. Believe me, look, all we just need to do is to appreciate the state of the economy before now. And that's where I fault the government. If only they had come earlier to express what is. I'm a student of statistics, and I look at the curve. We're already coming down from the Jonathan era, and we kept sliding down. Our what we call it, these foreign reserve. At the point during the last administration went to like 45, it dipped to like this president made it below 30 or about 30. Now it's about 30. If your foreign reserve is depleted, you will have problem with importation, you will have problem with obligations of your business dealings, then you will have problem defending your currency. Those are the situations this government. Don't forget during the election between this November to February, Nigeria, there was even no cash for Nigeria to spend. Things were terribly hard. So if you inherit a government at that period, you have two options. It's either you continue in that mess, or as you promise your people, find a way, a leverage of what to do. However, if it is too hard, you have to find a cushion. And that's where I think the issues we should be discussing. Those are the demands. They said reverse some of these policies. Now, if you look at the demands, it talks of a reduction of custom duty. If you reduce that has been done to some extent. For food items, it's been done. For automobile that are CNG or renewable energy, it's been done. If those things are done, those that are important, and it's been done, that's my point. And some are also going on. The CNG program is also going on. Believe me, it's moving fast. People have latched onto it.
Talking about the CNG program, there are also some questions as regards, number one, availability, the cost of conversion itself, and basically maintenance. So for many Nigerians, they're like, if I'm to convert my car from petrol-based to CNG, the cost is pretty high. And also, how do I ensure that it's easily maintained, and where do I even get the gas itself from? So, there are a lot of hanging issues around it. So maybe you might want to clarify,
I believe you are in a better position to educate the public, but for the purpose of this interview, I will try. And that's why I think our media has to play this role. We should not wait for information to come in the conventional way. We should also search for information. Now, I know that if you have CNG, you can use CNG, you can use petrol. I also know that the infrastructure for CNG is not all that available all over the country. And I know that the government, through the gas commercialization project, is doing a lot to improve the pipeline, the compression center, and also creating virtual compression sites, and all those things are going on. And I know in business or in marketing or in business adoption stage, the stages you go through, the first one is going to be tough. So the cost may be high for now, for a lot of people. You don't need to do it now. Those who are doing commercial transportations are the ones the government has decided to give these keys to free of charge. So they are giving the commercial transport operators free of charge. Then the next level will be people that will get it at 50%. So those are the incentives. That is where the money that is being realized on the subsidy removal is going to go. So it is better to invest in production than invest in consumption. Now, I'm not going to deny this. Things are hard. But it takes time for all these initiatives. This government has just spent 12 or 14 months, and it's going to take a while for some of these things to germinate. The government has been given money to small, older businesses, MSMEs, with told over 75,000 or 600,000 of them have also collected nano nano businesses. Then you have the big businesses getting about 1 billion support for. These are all incentives that are saved from that. If you revert back to fuel subsidy, one, we will not have resources to pay that subsidy. Two, we will be using all our revenue to pay that subsidy, even if the revenue is there. Now, we also told revenue has doubled in the first half of, the first half of 2024. These are improvements. So what it tells us is that there is light at the tunnel. There is definitely light at the tunnel. And it is to appeal to Nigerians, like the speech of August 4th and all the speeches. Please take time to study the president's speeches. You will see that most of the questions that are raised are already there.
Of course, I have studied the president's speech, and to a very large extent, I can tell you that there are a lot of reservations, and that's why we're having this conversation, right? But thank you so much, sir, for your time on the program this evening. Deeply appreciate Mr. Opeifa. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. At this point, we go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we will pick up. Stay with us.